On today's show, Donovan Mitchell had a superstar performance, and the Cavs beat LeBron for the second time this year. We'll talk about that and more on today's show. I want to thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen every day. Remember, we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. That is PrizePicks.com. And the promo code is Locked On.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
All right, the music you heard on the way in is from our friends at Astro Radio. Check them out on Apple Music or Spotify. I'm Chris Manning. I cover the Cavs and the NBA at large for places like Down UPROXX and Expeditions Fear the Sword. That man is Evan Dammarel. He is the proprietor of Down Euclid. All right, today's show, segment 1, big takeaway from the Cavs win over the Lakers. Segment 2, game awards from said game. And segment 3, normally we would almost lead with this because it was a big deal, but Jarrett Allen's back, and what that means, what he provided, we'll dive into that, I think, especially in segment 3. But, Evan, I don't think there's any place other to start than starting with Donovan Mitchell, because this was a superstar performance. This was Donovan Mitchell just going off, scoring 43 points, just putting the dagger into the Lakers' chest late in this game. I mean, he was dominant down the stretch for the Cavs, just utterly did whatever he needed to do to kind of pull out this win for Cleveland. And let's just he, again and again this year, has been so impressive, has just been so high level. He's putting up career high numbers across the board. He's playing at just a level that I think he's never played at before. And we'll get into this in some of the two-way stuff. But, this is one of those games where you look at him and say, yeah, this trade obviously is worth it. But this is an all-NBA level player. This is a guy that should be somewhere in the top 5 to 6 in the MVP discussion. Maybe he's not going to win it, but he's played at such a high level that he needs to be in your longer list there. I think he has just been, I think, incredible, and this is one of his best performances of the year, if not his absolute best.
I agree with you, and for those watching on YouTube, I wasn't making a face at Chris kind of breaking down Donovan Mitchell's game against the Lakers tonight. It's okay. I read that Discover is calling this merging Discover Plus and HBO Max and calling it Max. I'm just thinking, what a stupid name. If you're not subscribed to us on YouTube or watching on YouTube, subscribe. You're missing out on just this high quality video production we do every day. But yeah, Donovan Mitchell was sensational in this game. He kind of had a pretty inconsistent first half. I think you saw him maybe looking more to be more of a facilitator, kind of like Darius Garland was, just kind of, feeding off and just vamping off of Jarrett Allen, who came back in this game and was just absolutely dominant in the first quarter. And I think that had a little bit of a trickle-down Cavs-onomics effect for Cleveland offensively. And you saw Mitchell just kind of go blow for blow with Los Angeles because the Lakers, to their credit, scrapped and clawed back into this one despite not having Anthony Davis, who was ruled out early into this game with flu-like symptoms. And then post-game, it was revealed that he was dealing with a fever of 105 this morning, and it's surprising that he was able to play this evening. But either way, yeah, Mitchell was awesome. And I think him clearing out and isolating on Austin Reeves was kind of the icing on the cake. Maybe if you're not Austin Reeves, but if you're a Cleveland fan, it certainly was. And then you saw him just continually attack the basket, and I think this is a good kind of follow-up performance just based on the egg that they laid against the Knicks on Sunday, they as in the Cavs, Mitchell included. And he may not be in the MVP race. Like you said, I think he should get some All-NBA consideration at the end of the day. Maybe he does get some serious MVP consideration, but, that's not a detriment to Donovan Mitchell. I just think that's a compliment to how well so many other players are playing in the league right now. But he's by and far Cleveland's MVP, just at this early stretch of the season. He very well could be for the rest of the season just because he's wired differently to take this Cavs team to new levels, because if this was the Cavs last year, they might have crumpled when they were dealing with pressure like this and then LeBron kind of get his and let LeBron steal all the showmanship and the momentum and everything else. But Donovan Mitchell kind of put his foot on the throat of Los Angeles and would not relent until they knew the game was more than one, when the Lakers cleared their bench and then eventually Cleveland did the same.
Yeah, so in the fourth, let's just go to the fourth quarter in particular. So here's Mitchell's fourth quarter stat line. He plays 10 minutes and 17 seconds. 5 of 6 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3, 5 of 5 from the line, 1 assist, 3 rebounds, 0 turnovers, 17 points. He was the only Cav to score more than 2 points in the fourth quarter.
That's pretty nuts. That's actually
Darius
really nuts.
Garland had 2. Jared Allen had 2. Evan Mobley had 2. Jetty Osman had 2. Karis LeVert had 2. Isaac Okoro had 3 because he hit a 3 earlier in that quarter. No one else had more than 3. Donovan Mitchell.
That one.
Yeah. Donovan Mitchell had 17 of Cleveland's 31 points in the fourth. Evan, I want to ask you just a question that I don't know how to ask this now, but I want to ask this. This is a question I don't know how to ask to like JB Bickerstaff and to get a real answer. Is he better than you thought?
I don't think he's... So, full disclosure, I'll admit...
My answer is yes. My answer is yes.
Yes. Okay, at the onset, yes. But full disclosure, I didn't get up, or stay up, rather, to watch a bunch of Utah Jazz games last season or just the last few years. I'd watch them when they played Cleveland. I would tune in maybe every now and then if I was just awake and happened to watch a primetime game. Chris may know this. A lot of friends know this. If you're regulars to the show, you know this. Sometimes I like to take breaks from basketball because this is what I do for a living more often than not, and that means I consume other forms of entertainment, so there's only so many hours in the day, but yes, he's better than I thought because I thought there was going to be more of a learning curve with him just acclimating to Cleveland offensively at the end of the day. Like, I thought there was going to be some issues between him and Darius Garland. I thought there were going to be some issues with him and Evan Mobley because Evan Mobley missed pretty much the entire preseason and looked rusty to open the year. I thought there was going to be issues with him and Jared Allen. Like, there's just issues in general, not like issues per se, but it just kind of growing pains. That's the term I'm looking for. Where, like, it's going to work in the long run, but like it's going to require an adjustment. There's going to be a learning curve of these guys learning to get comfortable with one another because you're not just like trading for a role player from the Utah Jazz when you acquire Donovan Mitchell. You're trading for a superstar. You're trading for an all-NBA level player. You're trading for a guy who, at least on this show, we have said a few times now, could be, at least I said a few times now, should be in the MVP conversation as well. Like, there's a lot of things here, and like it was going to take time to adjust, and I think it's just kind of been more of a seamless fit. Donovan touched on it a little bit post-game where he said that JB from the get-go just told him to be himself, and then I think his teammates, so he also shared like his teammates and the coaching staff just constantly hype him up, and he's like, that's really empowering, and he wasn't throwing shade at his time with the Jazz, but like this is the first time in a while he said he's having fun playing basketball again, and like he's just enjoying himself out there on the floor. Like, I think there's just something that the Cavs caught in terms of like lightning in a bottle when it comes to Donovan Mitchell, and they're not going to let it go. They'll ride this wave for as long as they can, but it's allowed him to acclimate sooner, and he is having such a huge impact right away that he could make the Cavs a very scary team, especially when the spotlight is the brightest. And you kind of saw that first and foremost tonight against the Lakers. Like, this was a national TV game. It was against LeBron. Jared Allen didn't mince words when he says, like, come on, we know who's coming to town. We know it's the Lakers. We know it's on national TV. We know this game's a little bit bigger, and it's not just another game for Cleveland as much as they want to say it. But Donovan Mitchell showed up. Like, a lot of his teammates showed up. But, like, Donovan Mitchell was the main attraction tonight against the Lakers, and by and far was the MVP tonight for me. And we'll talk about awards in the second segment, of course, but, like, he was awesome. Like, just, I can continue to wax poetic about Donovan Mitchell for probably another 5 to 10 minutes if you gave me the runway too, but this is a 10-minute segment show. But he was awesome tonight, and I am surprised he's doing better already, and it kind of makes you a little bit more excited to see what's it going to look like 20, 30-ish games from now.
Look, I think there's things about it. I want to see how it evolves, but like, this is a guy whose numbers across the board are up above the last couple of years, averaging 28.4 points per game. He is shooting a career best from the field, a career best from three, a career best on 2-pointers. He's averaging close to his career high in assists. He is pretty much everything you would want to see for him is above the board, and he's playing a career high minutes. The Cavs have asked a lot of him. They've asked him. He said this post game on Tuesday. He came in and was like, they asked him to be himself. He said, JB Bickerstaff said, I'm going to be me, be you. We're not going to ask you to change for us. And like, he's been the best version of himself. This is the Cavs went and got a guy who's 26 years old, who is going into his prime, who is motivated, who I think feels like he has something to prove coming off of last year, and they're supporting. And and they're reaping the benefits of that. They're reminding you that this is a star-driven league, and you go get a guy like this to be your best player, to lead for you, to do some of these really high-end things and take over games like this. Like, he has just been time and time again, I think, just sensational. And like the Lakers game, I think for me probably is his best performance. And maybe it's the stage, maybe it's the environment, but it was just a downright spectacular Donovan Mitchell performance. Like it's crazy to think, Evan, that on a night where LeBron James is playing for the other team and he's in that arena, that Donovan Mitchell was the best guy on the court. But that's the reality of what this was.
Yeah, it was the reality of the situation. Yeah. And when he hit that three-pointer over Austin Reeves, he kind of turned to the Lakers bench and told them to go home. Like, this was the house LeBron built, but Donovan Mitchell is the one who's decking out the place right now.
Yeah, all right. Back after the break, we're going to come back, do some awards. I wonder who the MVP is going to be. Good Lord. But first, Evan, you're going to tell everyone about our friends at PrizePicks.
You are absolutely correct. This episode of Locked On Cavs is brought to you by PrizePicks. To play, pick 2 or 5 players, and if they go score more or less than the PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 10 times. That's 2 handfuls of fingers of your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. PrizePicks offers projections on any sport that you watch. That includes NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college hoops, women's college hoops, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, Euro, basket, cricket, and I had to cut this short, but there's so much more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. They offer safe and fast withdrawals, and they're currently operational in over 30 states and the great nation of Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to PrizePicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match, and up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will just give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON at PrizePicks.com.
All right, back here in the Locked On Cavs podcast, I'm Chris Manning. That is Evan Dammarel. Go, Evan. It's the MVP is Donovan Mitchell. I mean, I don't really know how much else we can say about this.
Honorable mention to Jared Allen and Darius Garland, though. Both had great nights.
Yeah, I think Allen in particular, I think had a stand-up performance. I think. Well, let's use this to talk about
20
Allen.
And 10. It was worth it mentioning.
Yeah, Allen just. Let's say that let me segment 3, but Allen felt, I think, just a particularly impactful and like forceful 24 and 11. Like there's points in this game where I thought Garland was like forcing it just a little bit. He's trying to like kind of takes like you could see him searching for kind of a dagger to pair with Mitchell's dagger in some ways, like look for a floater, look for a pull up, and like he just didn't have it that night, and that's fine. But like Allen was just like a very like forceful kind of dominant version of Jared Allen in a lot of ways. But so Donovan Mitchell's MVP, not really a question about it. We listen back to segment 1 if you want more Donovan Mitchell, because that guy is just incredible. But Evan, we're gonna go into play of the night instead of the night. So I'll start with play of the night because it's a Donovan Mitchell play. And it's a defensive first play. And this is maybe one of, I think, the most impressive part. There's like very subtle little things about what he's done this year that I find really interesting. Like I love that they're using him as a screener for Garland at times. But he did something.
I think I know what play you're going to talk about. He nailed it.
So, so Donovan Mitchell is playing defense in the third quarter. There's like 4 minutes left to go. The Cavs are up 7 at this point. This is going to put the lead up to 9. He is helping off at first, and he's at the nail, as Evan alluded to. He rotates back after Russell Westbrook passes to Austin Reeves. He helps, he stops, he gets Reeves to stop his dribble. Reeves throws a pass, Mitchell deflects it. He just out-hustles Reeves to get the ball, dunks on the other end, 9-point lead. The Cavs do blow this lead, then they have to blow it back up in the fourth, but this isn't like a play Mitchell was making in Utah. Like, if you're going to label concerns about what could not work with Mitchell, right? Like, what are his flaws as a player? What keeps him from being like a top-tier guy? It was the defensive stuff. It is what happened to him in the Dallas series last year. And not always putting in effort. And what he has done with Cleveland, and like plays like this are such a good example of it, is that he's like putting in the effort. The foot, like go back and watch this play. I'll link it in the show notes. Steve Jones, the great one of the hosts of the Dunker Spot, really great, one of the best NBA follows you can have on Twitter. posted this clip, and like just watch Mitchell on display. The footwork, the rotation, the arms, and then it's just motor. Like he gets a deflection, and it like bounces way far away, and he just out hustles Austin Reeves to get it, and then dunks. It wasn't like some great like read and everything. This is just hustle and grit and effort. And man, this is just this is the kind of play to me, Evan, that tells you Donovan Mitchell is just all the way bought in and all the way doing what he needs to do on a night-to-night basis.
I mean, credit to JB Bickerstaff, because if you are a regular listener to this show, Chris and I didn't have quiet concerns, but we had concerns about just the defensive fit between Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, and more so Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, and Karis LeVert to start the season. I think Bickerstaff pressed the right buttons by yanking LeVert out of the starting five, and then, hopefully putting Dean Wade in when he's healthy. But for now, Lamar Stevens, who's been playing pretty well, I'd say. He played pretty well tonight, just all things considered, on the defensive side of the ball. But this was just a sensational play, and I think that's when the moment you knew, like, okay, Donovan Mitchell really is fully bought in. He is going to use his God-given talent. He is going to use some of those comparisons and just sensational things that they said about him in Louisville, and like what he was as a player. Like, Mitchell will go back to when he played for Rick Pitino at Louisville and how he's like Pitino would kill him for some of the defensive mishaps he had with the Jazz, or he would talk about how like Quinn Snyder was just like so clinical and surgical in his approach and just calling defensive schemes and just tactically planning things. That I think obviously having like a good understanding of how defensive concepts work certainly helps, but I think the Jazz especially asked so much out of Mitchell offensively that he wasn't able to use a lot of those defensive talents he may have had, just because he was just burning so much gas on that end of the court. So yeah, this was a really good play, and I think at the end of the day, like, I asked Mitchell about this, gosh, either during the preseason or early into the regular season, like, do you have any concerns about, like, there's going to be nights that things just don't work? And he's like, yeah, but there will be those nights like that. Like, him and Darius maybe don't have it, but he's like, our defense will always lead to offense, and that is what we can always lean on. I think that's a perfect example of it, and coming from the guy who you least expect to play defense was pretty cool. And I talked about it in the first segment. I think it's just worth mentioning again. That clear out on Austin Reeves was ice cold. I think Donovan Mitchell just stuck a dagger through the heart of Lakers fans everywhere, LeBron James included, and I think just stole the LeBron show. Just at the end of the day, so
the confidence to do that is just like the ceiling is the roof on that. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was just like, holy cow, and like the place just absolutely blew up. And I think another moment for me, at least, just in terms of plays in the night, is just like the tribute video that the Cavs gave LeBron is nice. Like, I know it's the same one they've probably played for the last few years now, but like, it's nice the fact that the Cavs can recognize the player that is almost instrumental for their success in recent years. And you can talk about the Doherty and Nance and Price Cavaliers of the 90s, but they ran into the Michael Jordan buzzsaw. But like, LeBron James really pulled this Cavs organization out from the depths and made them relevant, and made Donovan Mitchell in turn a fan of this team too, which is kind of cool. I guess you can find a common thread there.
Yeah, all right. We'll talk more about some of this after the break. But Evan, last thing in this segment, stat of the night. Mine is just that Donovan Mitchell was again about 50% on a 30-point night. This is really a Donovan Mitchell show in a lot of ways. And just the fact that he has remained so efficient on these nights where he has big scoring. Like, he took 27 shots, yeah, made 17 of them, 4 of 8 from 3. Like, he has just been this ultra efficient guy, and it's just been a really, really impressive thing to watch him do this over and over and over again.
My stat of the night pick is just the fact that the Cavs only made, and I'm counting it right now, 6 of their 23 3-point attempts, I believe. I'm counting this correct.
7 of 27.
7 of 27. Thank you for covering my butt, Chris. But 7 of 27 from 3-point range. The fact that like the Cavs are a pretty good 3-point shooting team, like obviously adding Donovan Mitchell to the wrinkle certainly changes like your offensive shot chart quite a bit, but the fact that they just weren't hitting their threes, like you understood, like the Lakers tried to dare the Cavs to kill them on the interior at times, and much to the Lakers' detriment, it didn't work in that plan, but like they limited the Cavs in terms of 3-point attempts. They made them uncomfortable at times on the perimeter, but the fact that Cleveland was able to kind of have a pretty big win and kind of like widen the gap, especially heading into the fourth quarter like that, really puts in perspective like maybe how multifaceted and multidimensional this team can be offensively when they're hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah. All right. One more break. Come back. We're going to talk about Jared Allen and talk about the vibe at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse on Tuesday night because it was something special. Right back after this. All right. Last segment of Locked On Cavs. Evan, let's start with Jared Allen because look, it's just good for the Cavs to have him back. I think Evan Mobley had some really, really good stuff while Allen was out.
Mm-hmm.
I think like they need Evan Mobley to grow as a rim protector. They need Evan Mobley to grow into some of that to kind of maximize some of what he's going to be. Like that's just part of his journey. But right now, as this team is what it is, Jared Allen, you need his rim running, you need his dunking, you need his ability to create room for others by all the attention he draws in the paint. You need him to be efficient. You need him to contest shots and be active hands and play steals. Like he is just integral to what they do. And I have a hard time explaining exactly what makes it like really special. You know, like I have a hard time explaining to you out of this game, like what it is exactly what he did technically. But it's just he shows up and he does Jared Allen things, and it's like it all matters, and he just provides such a positive impact. They absolutely needed him back. They missed him a lot those 5 games.
Yeah, they really did. And when he said you're having a hard time describing it, it's just made me laugh because I believe Jarrett was talking to Spencer Davies about in his post game press conference. In his post game presser, he's just like, I don't really know what I'm talking about. He's like, I'm having a hard time describing it. Made me smile at least when I heard that. Jared Allen was sorely missed. I think you could just tell like the Cavs were lacking a bit of an edge on the defensive side of the ball, especially just because Allen is a force on the interior. Like he went up and tried to match LeBron on a dunk attempt early into this game, and you saw him fall to the floor hard, and like he got hit in the face by LeBron. So obviously, some fans were concerned about that.
Yeah, on his dunk, he almost yammed on LeBron early in this game.
No. Then there was an attempt where LeBron tried to go for a dunk, and Allen like contested it and fouled him, but then Allen fell to the floor hard on the way down. And then it was like the first time out early into the first. I saw Robin Lopez spring up, and then Jared Allen got checked by the medical staff, said he was okay, and kept playing. And clearly was fine because he was dominant for the rest of the first quarter. But on the offensive side of the ball, like you don't appreciate how Jared Allen works. And we've said this a lot. I think you can make the case that, like, yeah, Donovan Mitchell's, like, the Cavs MVP at the end of the day, but, like, Jared Allen is the Cavs' most valuable player just because of his two-way impact. He is a low-maintenance star. He is probably going to be the lowest scorer out of your core 4 because he's so dependent on a guard setting him up on offense, but, like, he's just so highly efficient. He's so consistent on a night-to-night basis. He's going to get you double-digit points and rebounds and really high-quality rim defense as well, and it's really fun to see him back out there. I think he does add a bit of a verticality to the Cavs, especially in the pick and roll. Like Danny Cunningham put the seed in my head, and I've been thinking about it a lot. And it's crazy to see how comfortable Allen is in the pick and roll with Donovan Mitchell at times too. Like he unlocks a lot of things because Mitchell's an elite pick and roll ball handler, and Allen is an elite pick and roll screen setter. So that's like an interesting, fun wrinkle we're watching the Cavs kind of evolve with in real time. And it's just like Mitchell never really had that in Utah with Rudy Gobert. And, like, yeah, they had a lot of offensive weapons with the Jazz to make that, like, function more so with Mitchell's playmaking. But, like, Allen can really unlock a lot of things for Donovan Mitchell, even more so than what Donovan Mitchell's already unlocked for this Cavs team in turn. So getting Allen back was probably a huge shot. Well, not probably. It was a huge shot in the arm for the Cavs at the end of the day. And, yeah, it's just good to have him back, and he really got me off guard during his media availability because he was wrapping up and then calls me out at the podium just to ask him about Pokemon. So, fun guy, that Jared Allen.
39 minutes basically in his return shift. Just goes in, puts in the work. Really, really useful, important player. Okay.
It's just key.
And on this, Evan, for those that were not there, or maybe you like are, have watched it or whatever, this was, I think, of the games I've been to, which is most of the home games, and like the only one I think that comes close is the Boston overtime game. I think this was like, obviously LeBron comes back and it's a really big deal. Like when he's back, the amount of people wearing LeBron jerseys, the honor the Cavs put towards him, all of this stuff. I don't think that and then it just gets into this playoff-y environment where it's really loud. It is really engaged from the top. It is just like a constantly engaged crowd in terms of like reacting to everything and staying very loud and staying through it. Like they didn't need like the pump up stuff throughout the game to really guide them through. This felt like a really, really big game with a lot of media there, with a lot of people there. Like at halftime, I'd go take like a lap around the concourse just to move, get some steps in and just kind of reset a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I did. It just took me a lot longer. It was like, it was really busy.
You did. You said it was really busy because I sat in the press box during halftime because I watched Joey freaking Chestnut slam 47 pierogies in 2 minutes.
I did watch Joey Chestnut, and then I left. This is like this is both like something that is only there's part of this that is only going to happen with LeBron. There's never going to be anything like LeBron in Cleveland. I was talking to Spencer Davies a bit during this game. We were sitting next to me tonight, and we were talking about how like the last LeBron game that he ever plays in Cleveland is going to be just one of those things that like kids tell their like grandchildren about, you know, and they're going to be like, "Shut up, Grandpa! Like no one cares." But like he brings this certain energy out that you can't replicate. It is an event. It is just a thing. On top of that, this is a tease of what you're going to see April, May, like if they ever get to June. If the Cavs hit their ceiling and play and are as good as we seem to think they are, 11-1 at home, 16-9 in the year, one of the best net ratings in the league, one of the best defenses in the league, just a genuine good team. If this team has a run in it and is going to make a real push for things and play in big games in the playoffs and big games for the next several years, this is by the way, Evan, if the season ended today, the Cleveland Cavaliers would host the Brooklyn Nets in round 1. Give me that. I would love that. It'd be incredible. But
it would be fun.
And again, I don't know if that's going to hold. Indiana's fifth right now. I don't know if that's really going to hold. But this is a tease of what is to come. These big games, they feel different. This just feels so different and cool and energizing. It's so engrossing. For those that like get to watch at home, follow along on Twitter, you know, get to go to a game. I know games are really expensive and like that can price people out, and I hate that. But if you get to go, this is just such a special thing, and I'm always kind of blown away when that stuff like presents itself in front of you. And like I hope if I ever get numb to it, I'm just gonna like I'll have to just like walk away or something. But like this is one of those games where it's like, yes, I will remember the Mitchell part of it. I will remember, you know, the LeBron ovation, all of that stuff. And like I will remember like how big of pops Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett got, you know, when they panned to them on the screen. But like just the crowd energy is just on another level in this game, and it's something you haven't felt, I think, since you know that guy left in 2018 and since they had that last run.
Yeah, it's so I had if you don't follow him on Twitter, you're missing out. But Esfandiar Baranhaney, he does a lot of stuff just for his platform over at SDPNS Sports, and he was in Cleveland tonight just to cover the Donovan Mitchell and LeBron game, and like he was live tweeting and posting videos and stuff. But like he hit me up, and he's like, "Man, is it always like this at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse?" I'm just like, some nights, no. I mean, obviously it depends on the opponent, but I'm like, when this crowd is locked in, like they are locked all the way in, and like when they're juiced, this team vamps off it. Like the Cavs have the best home record in the NBA currently. They're 11-1 at home, and like that, I think a lot of credit goes to the fans for that one. Like Darius Garland said as much. I think Jared Allen or Evan Mobley said as much too. JB Bickerstaff has said a lot of that too. Where like the fans understand a lot. Like they just get really loud when they need to. They know when to be quiet and things like that. And like Chris said, just from an optics standpoint, if you're able to just take in a game like this, and I'm envious of Chris because while I refuse to give the Cleveland Browns a cent of my money this season, I am envious of the fact that Chris might have seen Tom Brady's last game period in Cleveland, and
yeah, well,
Tom
and like think about what happened in that game. I mean, I'm going to send you a video from that game because I have the video of me and my dad at the end of that game, and like I saw that Njoku catch, like the energy of it. Like sports are cool, man.
Sports are cool.
Sports are pretty cool. Sports are good.
Like, I think you can see it first and foremost on the World Cup right now, too. Like, it's an entire country showing up. Like, a bunch of non-soccer fans, myself included, get amped up for the World Cup once every 4 years because it's like a global
Evan,
contest.
Evan, do you get amped up for the World Cup?
I will admit I watched Team USA get gobsmacked on Saturday, and I watched France win over Poland on Sunday, and then I'm ready to watch them bury the Brits this weekend. So, no, I wouldn't say amp. I'm not a fake soccer fan. If you know my soccer story, it's just I played for a grand total of one half before the parents more or less wanted me off the team. I'll explain maybe in a tell-all one day, but it's cool to have these moments. I always say we are incredibly spoiled as just fans of the sport when you can say there are so many great players just playing at the same time. And I think after like when Kobe passed away a few years ago, it really puts into perspective that life is precious, life is short, and you obviously it's the most time you spend doing something is living. So enjoy stuff, and if sports are your vice, if it's something you love and you're able to experience it in person, just feel the palpable energy like Chris and I felt at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, or what Chris felt down at First Energy when the joke he made that catch and it was just like Tom Brady's like, it's just like the table is set based on the opponent, and like we're just talking for the Cavs and it's like it's the Lakers, it's LeBron, like that's a big deal, and like this is a guy and a team the Cavs historically have struggled with over recent years, especially when LeBron has been on the Lakers, or just in general when LeBron's on any team that's not the Cavs. And it's cool to be part of these experiences, and I think it's even sweeter when we're now able to talk about how, like, hey, the Cavs came out hot, and then the Lakers scrapped back, and it was a playoff atmosphere game, and it had a very, very wild ending that makes it a very memorable game. And we're only 25 freaking games into the season at this point, too. That's the craziest part of it all. Like, it's going to get more fun as this team gels. It's going to get more fun as time goes on because, as Chris mentioned at the top, the Cavs made an all-in move to go get a guy who is entering his prime in Donovan Mitchell to coincide with guys that are also soon to be entering their prime in Darius Garland, Jared Allen, and eventually Evan Mobley. Like, yes, this Cavs team is still flawed and imperfect at times, but they're so freaking fun when they're hitting, and I think they're even more fun at home just because they've been so flat out dominant this season that loss to the Timberwolves just feels like the biggest aberration and just kind of the biggest blemish against Cleveland in the grand scheme of things, because you're like, man, if only they were undefeated at home this season.
I was just thinking about some of the real duds of games I covered, man, and like that's gonna happen. The duds of games I've been to and I've covered. You know, like you cover like some of those like.
Brother,
like first-year post-LeBron games.
Yeah, I covered a game where they played the Warriors, and the Warriors were up by almost 50 heading to halftime. It was during the John Beilein year, the first year JP Bickerstaff was the full head coach, like the first full season. Oh my God. And I wrote about how like this rivalry just like yes, the fans just kept booing Steph and Draymond, but like you could just hear them like losing interest as like the wider the margin got, and like just doesn't have the same oomph. I think it's also cool because Cleveland is in a pretty good spot sports-wise across the board. Like the Guardians, they just signed Josh Bell, and they're probably going to be a lot better than they were last year. The Cavs are in a very good place, and they're like a young, fun, scrappy team. The Browns, despite like the ethical optics of things, like are going to be a very good team for several seasons as well, just as long as they don't rock the boat too much. Like the city of Cleveland is in a good place sports-wise, and I think so many fans that are now growing up in this environment can really like be captivated by how fun it is to be just kind of in this community and just around all of this just like success in terms of sports. Yeah.
All right. That is going to be it, by the way. If you want more Cleveland stuff going on right now, Locked On Browns with G. Bush and Jeff Lloyd. And if you want to listen to Josh Bell, or listen about Josh Bell and maybe Sean Murphy if that happens, or whatever else the Guardians are going to be doing, check out Locked On Guardians.
Locked On Guardians. Wow, that's a get.
I'm lying. I'm just lying out of my teeth. Check out Justin and Jeff over there on Locked On Guardians. They just got to thousands on YouTube. I go maybe subscribe to them on YouTube if you haven't already. Thanks again for making us your first listen every day. This episode was produced by Jake Stevens. For your next listen after those Cleveland shows, check out Locked On Sports Today. It's the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. It is available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Chris. That's Evan. We'll be back tomorrow looking at some key stats for the Cavs at this point in the year and looking ahead to Friday. Cavs Kings, Mike Brown back in town. Talk to you then.